The North remembers. We know no king, but the king in the North whose name is Stark. I don't care if he's a bastard. Ned Stark's blood runs through his veins. He's my king, from this day until his last day.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones Season 8 Endgame Theories video. Today I will be talking about several different topics. I was actually watching this show last night and I noticed a few cool details that I did not pay much attention to the last time I was watching these episodes. As I was sitting there watching the show, I was also taking notes because I noticed a few scenes that I think could be foreshadowing some things to come in the final season, and I thought they were worth mentioning. I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to title this video because none of these scenes really relate to each other, but I did not want to make separate videos for each different topic, so I will just go over the scenes and tell you what I think it could mean. The first two scenes I want to show you are connected to each other, and they both have to do with Winterfell, the actual castle itself. The reason why I think these scenes are so important is because of what will most likely happen during the final season. As we all know, the Night King is now south of the Wall, and he's bringing about 100,000 whites with him, plus he has a dragon and giants. Obviously, Westeros has a major problem on its hands because the Night King appears to be ready for war. Jon and Daenerys are currently heading to Winterfell to prepare for this threat. Daenerys has her two remaining dragons, and she has the Dothraki and the Unsullied. Jon's army is already stationed in the north, so once they get to Winterfell, they will need to act fast because the Night King is already on his way. Thanks to some spoiler photos and videos, we know there is going to be a major battle at Winterfell, which I believe will involve the Night King. I know some people think the Night King will bypass Winterfell and head south instead, but I disagree. I think the Night King plans on attacking Winterfell for a few different reasons. The main reason is because the Night King's biggest opponents will be there. We know the Night King wants to get to Bran Stark for some reason. It's not entirely clear if he wants to kill Bran or use him for something else, but he is definitely trying to reach Bran Stark. He interacted with Bran inside of the weirwood net, which allowed him to enter the Three-Eyed Raven's cave. Bran and Meera was able to escape, but the Night King still sent whites after him. But thankfully, Uncle Benjen was there to give them an Uber ride. Jon Snow and the Night King have a history together as well, so we know there needs to be a payoff there. And now Daenerys wants to kill him too, because he killed one of her dragons. Bran, Jon, and Daenerys will all be at Winterfell together, so I would be willing to bet money that they will face off right there at the very first castle we were introduced to in Season 1, Episode 1. I am actually of the belief that Winterfell was actually the Night King's home, but I won't go into that again in this video. But we have already seen plenty of evidence to know that Winterfell will come under attack. The castle was seen on fire and there were dead bodies littered all over the battlements. Most of you that watch all my videos should already know this, but this only created even more questions. Was it the Night King who set the castle on fire with Viserion? Did the Winterfell castle fall and force the Starks to flee south? Or did the Night King and his army get defeated at Winterfell? These are all great questions that need answered, and we won't know for sure until we see the episodes. But my guess has always been that Winterfell will not fall. The castle may burn, but it will not be destroyed entirely. In fact, I think Jon and Daenerys will be victorious at Winterfell. I've talked about this before, but I want to show you these other scenes that I haven't included in those other videos about the Great War beginning at Winterfell. I believe this is some pretty good foreshadowing, and I have Theon Greyjoy to thank for these little tidbits about Winterfell. Theon says these things after he seizes Winterfell. Let's take a look at the first clip. This is shortly after Bran and Rickon escape.
Those boys are of far more value to you alive than dead.
They have no value to me missing.
Robb will have sent a force to retake Winterfell by now.
Robb's in the Riverlands. My sister's in Deepwood Motte. She'll get here long before they do. And Ned Stark always said 500 men could hold Winterfell against 10,000.
According to Theon, he says Ned Stark always said as long as you have 500 men, you can defend Winterfell against an attack from 10,000 men. This is a very important piece of information because Jon and Daenerys will most likely be outnumbered by the Night King's forces, but they don't need anywhere near equal numbers to hold Winterfell against his attack. Now, I'm no mathematician, but if the Night King has 100,000 whites, that means Jon and Daenerys would only need 5,000 men to defend Winterfell. And we all know they have a hell of a lot more than that. I'm not sure how big the Northern Army is after the Battle of the Bastards, but Daenerys has more Dothraki and Unsullied than that alone. Now that the Night King has a dragon, that certainly changes these odds, but Daenerys still has 2 dragons, and Drogon is the biggest of them all. If what Ned Stark said was true, then the Starks should have no problem with holding off an attack. I'm sure the producers of the show will make sure the battle is dramatic, that way we think the good guys are about to lose, which is probably why the castle burns. But I don't think that means it's a guaranteed loss for House Stark. Now, in case you're still on the fence about this, let me show you what else Theon said about Winterfell. I thought this was even more interesting than the first clip, because this may be a big indicator of how things end in the north.
First time I saw Winterfell, it looked like something that had been here for thousands of years. And would be here for thousands of years after I was dead. I saw it and I thought, of course Ned Stark crushed our rebellion and killed my brothers. We never stood a chance against the man who lives here.
Theon said, the first time I saw Winterfell, it looked like something that had been here for thousands of years, and would be here for thousands of years after I'm dead. I believe that means no matter how badly Winterfell may be damaged, the castle will always remain. It will continue to stand for thousands of years. The castle has too much history and magical elements to ever disappear during this current story. We have always heard that a Stark must remain in Winterfell, and I think this ties into the magic that was used when the castle was originally built by Brandon the Builder. When the Night King shows up, there will be a Stark here. In fact, all of the remaining Starks will be there, and when you consider how powerful Bran is right now, I would bet Winterfell will be very hard to take from the Starks now that this ancient castle is back under their control. George R.R. Martin plans on releasing 7 books to complete his A Song of Ice and Fire series, and he intended on titling the last book, A Time for Wolves. I don't know about you, but to me that sounds like the Starks are going to make a major comeback in the end. Then again, I know nothing. Let's move on to a different topic. This time I want to show you a scene with Robb and Talisa. I think they may have actually foreshadowed something that could happen with Jon and Daenerys. I'm sure most of you know this by now, but I fully believe Daenerys is pregnant, and most of us have been wondering what she will have. Will Daenerys have a son or a daughter, or could she have both? I have been thinking about this a lot lately because depending on what Daenerys has, this could determine the future of House Stark and House Targaryen. Both of these major houses are coming close to extinction, and if someone doesn't start producing heirs, that's exactly what will happen. Although I do believe Jon and Daenerys will produce an heir, but will they give it the Stark name or Targaryen name? Which house would they save? I think we all know what Daenerys would do, but what would Jon want to do? Well, they may be able to do both, if this scene is foreshadowing what will happen. So let's take a look.
I have your little prince or princess inside me.
Maybe one of each.
Talisa said, I have your little prince or princess inside me, and Robb said, maybe one of each. Robb thought she could possibly have twins, even though we later find out she's going to have a son. But I think this could foreshadow what will happen with Jon and Daenerys. Maybe they will be the ones to have twins. Then they could give one kid the Targaryen name and the other kid the Stark name. They could kill 2 birds with 1 bone. Now I know some of you may be thinking, why would a scene with Robb and Talisa foreshadow something about Jon and Daenerys? Well, if you remember Robb and Talisa's wedding, it was actually foreshadowing Rhaegar and Lyanna's private wedding.
Binding them as one for eternity. Look upon one another and say the words.
Father, Smith, warrior, mother.
Father, Smith, warrior. Mother, maiden, crone. Stranger, I am hers, and she is mine.
Since their wedding foreshadowed Rhaegar and Lyanna's, perhaps their conversation about having twins is a clue to what Daenerys will have. It's obviously not a guarantee, but when I heard Robb say they could have twins, it immediately made me think of Jon and Daenerys, because this could really help solve the problem of House Stark and Targaryen needing someone to carry on the names. Anyways, let's move on to this other topic now. The next thing I want to show you is a scene between Qyburn and Jaime Lannister. This is shortly after Qyburn helps fix Jaime's arm. As they are traveling to King's Landing, they make a stop and Qyburn looks after Jaime again. but they have a very interesting conversation about Qyburn's healing methods. I think this could be a clue as to what Qyburn may plan to do now that he has seen the whites for himself. I did make a video about this before, but I did not include this scene, so let's take a look at it, then I will tell you what I think it might mean for the endgame.
So why did the Citadel take your chain? Did you fondle one boy too many?
No, my lord, that's not my weakness.
What is?
Curiosity. The only way to treat disease is to understand disease. And the only way to understand it is to study the afflicted.
So as you can see, Jaime asked Qyburn why the Citadel took his chain, and Qyburn said because of his curiosity. Qyburn was known for performing experiments on people that were still alive, and this is a big no-no in the eyes of the Citadel, but Qyburn does make a good point about why it is so effective. He said the only way to treat disease is to understand disease. The only way to understand it is to study the afflicted. Now, the reason why I found that quote so interesting was because it immediately reminded me of what Qyburn did during the Dragon Pit scene. When the Hound releases the White, we can see Qyburn's curiosity at work. It was Qyburn's curiosity that got him stripped of his chain while studying at the Citadel. But his curiosity could also give us some more insight into how the Army of the Dead operates or functions. Since I already made a video about this, I won't go into all of the same things again, so let me just propose this one as a question to all of you. Based on what Qyburn said to Jaime, do any of you think Qyburn took any of the White's body parts to study? Qyburn may look at this the same way he looks at a disease that is spreading. The only way to treat disease is to understand it, and to do that, he would need to study the afflicted. The way he inspected the White's hand made me think he wanted to learn more about it. Now, Jon did burn the hand, but the rest of the White's body could still be looked at. This would certainly not be the first time Qyburn was involved in some unnatural practices.
Well, beyond. This man is not even a maester, let alone Grand Maester.
That's for the best. No maester knows how to save him.
That is exactly the sort of arrogance that had him expelled from the Citadel, Your Grace. His curiosity was deemed dangerous and unnatural.
It might not actually be that different from what is going on with the Mountain. Let me know what you think about some of the scenes I showed you today. Do you think any of them are hinting at what will happen in the future? Also, tell me if you would like to see more foreshadowing videos like this one. Either way, I want to thank all of you for watching today's video, I really appreciate that. And I also want to give a big shout out to everyone that supports the channel on Patreon. Have a great day, I will see you in the next video. Bye.